In 2010, I think that the world is going to get cloudier. Cloudier doesn't mean that you'll be able to see less. It means that there's going to be more storage online. We're not going to be using the storage on our computers sitting on our desks quite so much. We're going to have more things up in what's called the cloud, sort of on the internet. You're not quite sure where it's stored, but you know that it is stored somewhere. You can get at it if you need to. Google has its Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, which are all sitting somewhere on Google servers. Microsoft is being forced to follow it. And that's going to have an effect on Microsoft because it's not going to get as much revenue from that, not as much profit from it. So Google is very subtly undermining Microsoft's business model. There's going to be some big effects coming through from that.
It may seem a bit obvious, but I think it's going to be an absolutely massive year for Google. Now they've crushed their competitors in the search engine market. Forget about Microsoft's Bing. Google really is the only game in town there. But now, as we see, they are spreading out their tentacles in hundreds of directions all at once. And they're successful in a lot of them, which I think has surprised people. The big thing for 2010 is the launch of their operating system for netbook computers called Chrome. Now that's obviously a fairly direct competitor to Microsoft's Windows and to Apple as well. So I think the interesting thing there is to see if that's a success, if Chrome works. Does Google go ahead and become indisputably the most powerful technology company in the world and perhaps the most powerful company in the world, full stop? And if that happens, do the government regulators start to get really interested in Google? They're already thinking about them, but do they start moving, taking action against Google because of its amazing monopoly in so many areas?
So we're going to see the rise and the rise and the rise of apps. Every new phone that's coming out, every new mobile technology that's coming out has an app store. Thank you very much, Steve Jobs. That was very clever. And so we're going to see more micro-transactions. We're going to see, your grandmother picking up on this idea, not just the early adopters, not just the geeks like me who are happy and willing and able to just download stuff and consume them. So we're going to see more of a business model brewing, and I think we're going to start to really see leaders in this field. We're going to start to see, the hierarchies emerge, those brands that are going to be really massive and they're going to be really well known for producing these incredible apps.
It's not massively sexy, but I think next year we'll be talking about green technology and actually how manufacturers have stopped making a big point of how green their technology is and now have to integrate it into absolutely everything they release. So I think green tech will become maybe something we don't talk about as much, but something that becomes naturally we assume is there. It'll be about gadgets no longer being able to be put on standby. You have to turn things off. You have to just cut off the electricity. There'll be gadgets coming out about easily measuring how much electricity you're using in your household, right down to the very specific household appliance, so you know what's sucking up all that energy and money. And also manufacturers making real commitment to producing less packaging, making their gadgets out of stuff that can be recycled easily by the average consumer.
The thing that a lot of people are really interested in looking out for is this much rumoured tablet computer from Apple, something fairly big that can have a touch screen that people can use to do various bits and bobs. Now it's clear that the iPhone changed the way that we think about technologies, the way we interact with the gadgets that we carry around in our pockets, the things we can do with them. And all of the other mobile phone companies and everybody else has been chasing after this idea of touchscreen ever since. The really intriguing thing, I think, though, is whether Apple really knows what it wants to do with a tablet. Whether people, in fact, know what to do with it. I mean, if they give you one, what are you going to do that you can't do on your iPhone or you can't do on a laptop? Does it sit somewhere in the middle? Nobody's really sure yet. And that's where the interesting thing comes along. Because really, the big question is, if Apple go ahead and release it, will Steve Jobs have bitten off more than he can chew?
Apple is going to keep on pushing with the iPhone. Lots of companies are trying to keep up with it on the iPhone front. And again, I think that social media, things like Facebook and Twitter are going to make bigger and bigger inroads into our everyday lives, both our private lives and our corporate lives, because the people who are coming into work now, the people who are getting jobs now, have grown up with these. They've always known Facebook. It's been there pretty much through their school life and their university life. For them, it's absolutely natural. So that's going to be the sort of changes I'm expecting.